This is the main screen of Samsara. We're going to kind of go through this navigation to make sure that we understand what the different buttons do. In the top right corner, the settings button, there's really nothing in here that you can change that will help you. We'll go back out of there. The messaging button right beside it. This is how you're going to send and receive messages to dispatch. That isn't necessarily regarding load messages. As you can see in this example, there is a message from dispatch for your load information. It will come here as well as going into the workflow, which on Samsara is called routes. But this is more for just general communication messages. Beside that is your log out button. It'll log you out instantly unless you have logs to certify, and then you'll have to certify those logs all at one time before it lets you log out. The button beside that is a scorecard button. We're not sure if we're going to use this feature, but it's there for right now. If it disappears, don't worry about it. We decided we're not going to use it. The button below that is your duty status button. This duty status button is available here or inside the hours of service screen. All it takes is a click on it. It will show you the duty statuses that you are allowed to pick from. You pick your duty status and you hit the save button. You don't necessarily need a remark unless it says it's required. For example, if I were to click on PC, it says it's required. This is where you put in like your egg exempt remark or something like that. The next button down is what we talked about already, is that vehicle, trailer, and shipment ID fields. If you need to make any changes to those fields, feel free to click on that box and make those changes. The colored tiles at the bottom, there's the blue hours of service tile will give you your hours of service information. The other one you will use a lot is the routes tile. This is the same as workflow is to PeopleNet. So you would go into your routes to complete any workflow actions or communications to dispatches about your load. If you're just writing a message to dispatch, you would go back up and use that messaging button, but your loaded and leaving and your empty and available forms are underneath that routes button. If, for instance, that workflow didn't come through, it's over a weekend, dispatch hasn't assigned you the load yet, etc., underneath the documents button is the loaded and leaving and the empty and available forms, just like how PeopleNet had their create forms button. Instead of create forms, it's named docs. The trip log button is just kind of a history of the dispatch trips that you were looking on. This could be helpful if you needed to write your trip number on your dock hauler paperwork. That's what that one is for. The vehicle button is the same as hitting that vehicle, trailer, and shipment ID button at the top. It just takes you to where you can pick those buttons. The DVIR button in the center, I'm not sure how we're going to use that or if we're going to use that yet. That will just basically send a message in to the mechanics. At this point, I would still use whatever way that you're comfortable using, contacting the mechanic's phone or email or whatever. If you're a team driver, you'll have to slide over to pick your driving team. This is how you would add a second driver into your logs.